I want you to picture a scenario. It's a Tuesday afternoon. You know the kind.
Well, I know the kind.
The post-lunch slump has set in. The coffee has definitely worn off. And you were sitting in a conference room.
Or, let's be real, a Zoom window.
Yeah.
Which is probably worse.
It might actually be worse, yeah, because you can just stare at your own face while you endure it.
The modern torture chamber.
Exactly. And the person in charge, let's just call him Gary, is talking. And Gary has the title. He has the authority.
I got the slide deck.
He's a slide deck that looks like it was built by a committee of actuaries. And he is saying words. Lots of them.
Jargon.
Acronyms, projections, synergy, paradigm shift, the whole bingo card. But as you look around the room or you scan those little pixelated boxes on your screen, you realize something kind of terrifying.
Nobody is home.
The lights are on, but the house is completely empty. Gary is transmitting at full power, but nobody, and I mean nobody, is receiving. The room is dead.
It's a vacuum.
A total vacuum.
It's a scene that is played out in, I don't know, thousands of offices every single day. And there's actually a term for that.
Oh, yeah.
In the material we're covering today, John Maxwell calls that cemetery communication.
Cemetery communication. Wow. That is a grim image for a Tuesday afternoon.
It is grim, but it's also incredibly accurate. It's called that because, there are a lot of people out there, but nobody is listening.
So ideas just go there to die.
Exactly. And I think that is the perfect place to start our deep dive today. We're looking at Everyone Communicates, Few Connect by John C. Maxwell.
Right.
And before you, the listener, roll your eyes and think, great, another book on soft skills. I'll just go back to my spreadsheet. We need to reset the frame here immediately.
We do, because the data suggests this isn't about being nice. This isn't about being the office social chair. This is high-stakes survival.
Precisely. We are unpacking the difference between just making noise, which is what Gary was doing in that conference room, and actually moving people. And if you look at the environment we're all operating in, the noise is the problem.
Yeah.
It's the enemy.
It is deafening. I was looking at the data in our source stack, and the numbers are, honestly, they're staggering. We are bombarded with something like 35,000 messages a day.
35,000. Just stop and think about the cognitive load of that for a second. Every billboard you pass, every email subject line, every Slack notification ping, every text, every ad on your social feed, your brain is just constantly filtering, deflecting, and ignoring just to survive.
You have to build a fortress just to get through the day.
You do. And we aren't just victims of the noise.
Yeah.
We are active contributors to it.
We are part of the problem, yeah. The average person speaks about 16,000 words a day.
Which, if you do the math on that, is enough to fill a 300-page book.
A 300-page book.
Every single week.
That is a lot of books. That is a library of mostly useless information.
It's a library of noise. And the terrifying reality that Maxwell points out is that most of those words, they just evaporate.
They don't land.
They don't land at all. We are talking, but we aren't connecting. And if you're a leader or you want to be one, that gap, the gap between speaking and connecting, is where your career goes to die.
That sounds dramatic, where your career goes to die. But the Harvard Business Review, they back it up explicitly.
They do. They found that the #1 criteria for advancement and promotion for professionals is the ability to communicate effectively.
It's not your technical skill.
No, it's not how good you are at coding in Python or how well you know GAAP accounting or how fast you can build a financial model. It's this.
It's the bottleneck. You can have the best strategy in the world. You could have the cure for cancer, the blueprint for cold fusion.
Right.
But if you can't transfer that vision from your brain to someone else's heart and mind, the strategy is just a hallucination.
The hallucination is a great way to put it. A strategy that nobody understands or cares about isn't a strategy at all. It's a daydream.
Okay, so let's get into the mechanics of this, because I think a lot of people confuse communication with connection.
Oh, all the time.
Yeah. They think, well, I sent the email, so I connected, or I gave the speech, so I connected.
Right. The classic error. I told them, so they know.
I sent the memo. Why didn't they do it?
Exactly. So how does the source material define true connection? Because it has to be more than just people liked what I said or people laughed at my jokes.
It is much more specific. The way Maxwell defines it is it's the ability to identify with people and relate to them in a way that increases your influence with them.
Oh.
Note the key words there. increases your influence.
That's the metric.
That is the metric. If you walk out of a meeting and you haven't increased your influence, you might have communicated, you might have informed, you might have entertained, but you did not connect.
Like a currency exchange.
It's currency exchange. You trade attention for influence.
And this isn't just fluffy, let's all hold hands and sing Kumbaya stuff. There's hard data on this.
There is, specifically on executive performance.
That's a study.
It was a fascinating study by a guy named Jay Hall from Telemetrics, and they studied 16,000 executives.
16,000. That's a massive sample size.
It's statistically significant by any standard, yeah. And they categorized them into high achievers, average achievers, and low achievers. And then they just looked at the behavioral differences.
And I'm guessing the differentiator wasn't their IQ or their pedigree or where they went to business school.
Not at all. The low achievers, they were preoccupied with their own security.
Yeah.
They showed a basic distrust of their subordinates. They didn't seek advice. They were focused inward on themselves.
So, am I safe? Do I look good? Is my turf protected? It's a defensive crouch.
Exactly. Now contrast that with the high achievers. They cared about people and profits. Or they viewed their subordinates optimistically. They actively sought out advice. Basically, the high achievers were connectors. The low achievers were just operators protecting their perf.
So, if connection is the secret sauce, if it's the thing that separates the C-suite from, middle management purgatory, why are so many of us so bad at it?
Yeah.
Why is cemetery communication the default state for so many organizations?
Yeah.
Why is Gary in the conference room failing so hard?
Oh, the source material breaks this down into a diagnostic. Maxwell argues there are 3 primary mistakes, he calls them burials, that kill connection before it even starts.
Barriers, okay.
And these aren't tactical mistakes like speaking too softly or having a typo in your slide. They're mindset failures.
All right, let's unpack these. Mistake number 1.
The me first factor.
The me first factor.
This is the big one. And honestly, it comes down to a word that executives hate to hear. Immaturity.
Immaturity. Oof, that stings. Most of us think we left immaturity behind when we got our first mortgage.
You'd think so, but it's not in the sense of being childish, exactly. It's about perspective. The definition of maturity, in this context, is the ability to see and act on behalf of others. Immaturity is thinking that you are the star of the movie.
Right, that main character energy where everyone else is just an NPC, a non-player character in your life.
Yes.
They only exist to move your plot forward.
Precisely. And Maxwell uses this hilarious but spinging illustration called the toddler property laws.
Oh, I love this list.
Yeah.
It's funny because it's true about 3-year-olds, but it's painful because it's so true about CEOs.
Let's go through a few. Let's map them to the corporate world.
Okay, toddler property law number 1. If I like it, it's mine.
That is standard boardroom behavior. We see this in resource allocation all the time. Ooh, I like that high-profile project. It looks successful, so it belongs under my division now.
Total land grab, absolutely. Okay, toddler property law number 2. If I think it's mine, it's mine.
This is credit hoarding. I thought of that initiative in the shower 3 months ago. I never wrote it down. I never told anyone. But even though you built it and launched it, deep down, it's mine because I thought it.
If I'm doing or building something, all the pieces are mine.
That's resource guarding. Don't touch my budget. Don't touch my headcount. I need all the pieces, even the ones I'm not using, just in case. It's just hoarding.
And my personal favorite, if it's broken, it's yours.
Yes. That is the ultimate management failure. If it works, I did it. If it crashes, you did it.
I provided the vision. You failed the execution.
It's funny, but it completely destroys connection because if I'm operating under toddler property laws, I'm not connecting with you. I'm just using you.
You're extracting value.
That's all.
Okay.
And people can feel that. You cannot hide that kind of selfishness. There's a really powerful letter in the book from a guy named Calvin Miller. It's written from the perspective of an audience member to a speaker, but it applies to any leader talking to a team.
What does he say?
He writes, "Your ego has become a wall between yourself and me."
Your ego has become a wall. That is such a vivid image. You can't climb over it. You can't talk through it.
He goes on to say, "You're not really concerned about me, are you? You're mostly concerned about whether or not the speech is really working. You see everything so well, but us. But this blindness to us has made us deaf to you."
Wow. Blindness to us has made us deaf to you. That explains so many failed town halls, doesn't it?
It really does.
The leaders up there trying to be impressive, trying to sound smart, trying to justify their bonus, and the audience just shuts down.
Because the leader is playing the hero But in Connection, the audience is the hero. Your team is the hero. The second you make it about you, you lose them.
It's almost a biological reaction, isn't it?
Yeah.
If I sense you are only interested in your own survival or advancement, I'm going to withdraw my trust to protect myself.
100%. Which leads us perfectly to the second mistake, the assumption trap.
The assumption trap.
This is the operational failure. So the first mistake was ego. This one is. It's just laziness. It's the assumption that I already know what others know, feel, and want.
And there's a classic story in the book that illustrates this perfectly. It's the cookie thief story.
It's a legend. It's been retold in so many formats. But Maxwell uses it to devastating effect here to illustrate how quickly our narratives break down.
So set the scene for us. A woman is at the airport.
Right. She's waiting for a flight. She's got a long wait. She buys a newspaper and a package of cookies. She finds a seat in the crowded terminal, sits down to read.
Okay.
And she notices a man sitting next to her. And the audacity, he reaches out, takes a cookie from the package on the table between them, and just eats it.
The nerve. That is an absolute violation of the social contract. You do not touch another person's snacks.
You just don't. So she doesn't want to make a scene, so she just takes a cookie herself. Kind of a passive-aggressive, these are mine move. You know?
Yeah, I know the move.
She glares at him, but then he takes another one.
It's a cookie war.
It is a silent battle of wills. They're going back and forth, eating the cookies. She is getting angrier and angrier. She's thinking, who is this arrogant jerk? Does he have no shame?
I'd be fuming.
Right. Finally, there's one cookie left. The man smiles, looks at her, breaks it in half, offers her the half, eats his half, and walks away.
Wow.
She is livid, vibrating with rage. She boards her plane, sits down, still seething about this rude, ungrateful cookie thief. She opens her purse to get a tissue, and there, inside her purse, is her package of cookies.
Oh, no.
Unopened.
She was eating his cookies the whole time.
The whole time.
And he was the one being generous. He was sharing his last cookie with this woman who was glaring at him like a maniac.
Exactly. But here's the point. We always assume we are the one with the unopened package of cookies.
Always.
We assume our perspective is the right one. We assume we have all the facts. We assume we are the victim and the other person is the villain.
And that assumption just kills connection instantly. Because if I assume I know what you're thinking, or you assume your motivations are bad, like the thief, I stop listening.
You stop listening and you stop asking questions. Connection requires curiosity. An assumption is the death of curiosity.
That's a great way to put it.
If I think I know, I don't need to ask. And if I don't ask, I can't connect. I'm just waiting for you to stop talking so I can prove I'm right.
So we have the ego, the me first factor. We have the assumption trap. And then there's the third mistake, which I think is rampant in the corporate world, especially in technical fields.
Oh, yeah.
The complexity fallacy.
This is the arrogance of complexity. It's the belief that if I say it simply, I won't look smart.
Right.
So I need to use jargon. I need 10 slides when one would do. I need to write the memo in passive voice with big words like utilize instead of use and paradigm shift instead of change.
It's insecurity masquerading as intelligence.
100%. The book mentions a pastor who was once told he was smarter than Einstein.
Right. And he took it as a compliment initially. Ego again. But then the congregant explained, Einstein wrote things so difficult that only 10 people could understand him. But when you preach, nobody can understand you.
That is not a compliment. That is an indictment.
It really is. But we see this all the time. Insecure managers create complexity. They hide behind thick manuals, busy slides. They think clarity is a weakness.
Yes.
They think if they explain it simply, people will think the job is easy and they won't be needed. But the source material argues the opposite. Connectors do the difficult work of keeping it simple.
That's a great line, the difficult work of keeping it simple, because it is so much harder to write a short email than a long one.
Much harder.
Yeah.
As Mark Twain, or Pascal, depending on who you ask, said, I would have written a shorter letter, but I didn't have the time.
Right.
Complexity is lazy. Simplicity requires mastery. Complexity builds a wall. Simplicity builds a bridge. If you want to connect, you have to get over the need to sound the smartest in the room and just focus on being the clearest in the room.
So we have our diagnostic. We know why we're failing. We're self-absorbed. We're making assumptions, and we are overcomplicating things.
So how do we fix it?
Well, the source material offers a framework, a connection-first stack.
And it's structured very logically. It's almost like a hierarchy of needs for communication. You can't get to the top, the intellectual transfer of ideas, if you haven't laid the foundation first.
Let's start with that foundation. Layer 1, the visual.
This goes back to that famous Moravian study. You've probably heard the stats. 55% of communication is visual, 38% is tone, and only 7% is the words.
No, we should probably clarify because I know our listeners are sharp. That study is specifically about communicating feelings and attitudes, right?
Exactly.
If I'm reading a technical manual on how to fix a nuclear reactor, the words definitely matter more than 7%.
Absolutely. If I tell you the code of the safe, the numbers matter. But, and this is a huge but, when we're talking about leadership, trust, and buy-in, we are firmly in the realm of feelings and attitudes.
And when there's a discrepancy?
The visual wins every time. If I say I'm happy to be here, but my arms are crossed, I'm looking at the floor and I'm scowling.
Yeah.
People believe what they see, not what they hear.
And the book says you have a very, very short window to establish this visual connection.
7 seconds. Roger Ailes, the communication consultant, says you've got 7 seconds to make the right first impression. You are broadcasting before you even open your mouth.
So what's the tactical advice here? How do we win the 7 seconds?
It's all about removing barriers. The book talks about open posture. If you're standing behind a podium, you're blocked. If you're sitting behind a massive oak desk, you're blocked.
Yeah.
Connectors remove the furniture. They come out from behind the barrier.
I like the mention of the stoop method.
Yeah, getting on their level. Literally, if you're talking to someone who's sitting down, pull up a chair. Don't loom over them.
Right.
Think about it. Who looms over you? Police officers, angry parents, and bad bosses. It changes the power dynamic instantly. Sitting down says, we're in this together, not I am broadcasting to you from on high.
It signals safety.
Correct.
Exactly.
And safety is a prerequisite for connection. If I don't feel safe, my brain is in fight or flight, and I physically cannot hear your brilliant strategy.
Okay, so we've established the visual, we look open, we've removed the barriers. Layer 2 is the emotional, heart before head.
This is where most executive communication just completely fails. We try to move the mind before we move the heart. We bring the logic, the spreadsheets, the ROI calculations, but the rule is people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
That's a classic Maxwell line. It sounds like a bumper sticker, but the psychology behind it is profound.
It is.
Yeah.
And it implies that connection requires energy. This is a huge point in the book. Connection is not passive.
No.
You can't just show up and expect it to happen. You have to bring it. You have to generate it.
There was a list of 4 unpardonable sins of a communicator from a speech professor mentioned in the text.
Yes. Being unprepared, uncommitted, uninteresting, or uncomfortable.
And if you look at those, 3 out of the 4 are about energy.
They are. It takes energy to prepare. It takes energy to be committed. It takes energy to be interesting.
It's so true. Think about the low achievers we talked about earlier. They're usually so low energy in their communication. They're just trying to get through the meeting.
Just checking the box.
They're monotone. The high achievers are actively injecting energy into the room.
And that energy is emotional currency. If you're flat, the room is flat. If you're anxious, the room is anxious. You have to set the emotional thermostat. You cannot wait for the audience to energize you. That is parasitic. You have to feed the audience.
So we have visual, which is I see you. We have emotional, I feel you. Now and only now do we get to layer 3, the intellectual.
This is where the words actually matter.
Yeah.
Again, the focus is all on simplicity and clarity. We're back to fighting the complexity fallacy.
So what's the antidote? How do we make the intellectual part land?
Well, there's a great comparison in the text between the Navy manual approach and the General Electric approach under Jack Welch.
Tell me about that.
The Navy had this manual that went through 5 drafts just to say, a word to the wise is sufficient. By the 5th draft, it was this paragraph of bureaucratic nonsense about underlying assumptions and varying circumstances and precautionary measures.
It became unusable.
Totally unusable. It was a wall of text designed to prevent anyone from being sued, but it also prevented anyone from understanding anything.
I think I've received that email. It's written to cover the writer's backside, not to inform the reader.
Exactly. Now contrast that with Jack Welch. He was known for being blunt, simple, and repetitive. He understood you have to strip away the noise. He didn't use big words. He used big ideas with small words.
He wanted everyone, from the janitor to the VP, to understand the mission.
And that requires simplicity. There's a rule mentioned about learning and retention, the rule of 3.
The rule 3.
The first time you say it, it's heard. The second time, recognized. The third time, learned.
That is so counterintuitive for smart people. We hate repeating ourselves. We think, I said it in the Q1 kickoff. Why don't they remember it in Q3? Are they stupid?
They aren't stupid. They're bombarded. Remember the 35,000 messages. Your message is fighting for survival in a war zone of attention.
So true.
Connection requires repetition. You have to be willing to be a broken record on the things that matter. If you were bored of saying it, they're just starting to hear it.
There's also this concept of jigsaw management, which I found really helpful for delegation.
This is a brilliant visual. Imagine trying to put together a jigsaw puzzle without the picture on the box.
It's impossible, or at least incredibly frustrating.
It's frustrating. It takes forever. You don't know if this blue piece is sky or water. You don't know the scale, the orientation.
And that's how most leaders communicate. They just hand out pieces, do this report, call this client, update the spreadsheet.
Right. But they never show the box cover. Connectors show the box cover first. Here's the vision. Here is what we are building. Here is why it matters. Now, here is your piece.
And when people see the picture,
the work makes sense. They connect to the purpose. If you just give them the piece, they're just doing labor.
So that's the stack. Visual, remove barriers. Emotional, bring the energy, show you care. And intellectual, keep it simple, show the box cover.
If you do those three things, you aren't just communicating, you're connecting. You are actually moving people.
I want to move to something very tangible now. Because we promise practical tools. The source material provides some specific scripts, literally lines you can say, to shift from communication to connection in high-stakes moments.
These are great because they force you into a connection mindset. They override your default settings.
What's our default setting?
Usually self-protection or self-promotion. These scripts force you into other orientation.
Okay, let's go through them. Script number 1. This is for when you're trying to align with someone, maybe in a negotiation or a strategy session. Instead of saying, do you see what I see? You're just forcing your vision on them.
You say, do I see what you see?
That's a subtle shift, but it's powerful.
It's huge. It validates their perspective first. It says, I am willing to stand in your shoes before I ask you to stand in mine.
That's immediate common ground.
It disarms the other person. They don't have to fight to be heard because you just asked to hear them.
Script number 2. This is the deep dive question. Instead of the generic, how are you, which always gets the generic, fine.
You ask meaningful questions. The book suggests things like, what do you dream about? What do you sing about? What do you cry about?
Now, I can hear the executives listening to this thinking, I cannot ask my CFO what he sings about. He will call HR and I will be in a seminar.
Fair point. You might not use those exact words in a board meeting. But the principle is what matters. Ask about their values. Ask about their passions. Ask about their pain points.
So translate that for the corporate world.
The what is keeping you up at night is the corporate version of what do you cry about?
Okay.
What is the big win you're chasing this year is what do you dream about? And what are you most excited to work on is what do you sing about?
I like that transition. It's about getting below the surface. Okay, script number 3, the value add. Instead of, buy my idea.
You use the Zig Ziglar approach.
Yeah.
If you help people get what they want, they will help you get what you want.
This is a mindset shift, really.
It is. But you can verbalize it.
Yeah.
You can literally say to a client or a colleague, my goal here is to help you get X. If we could do that, I think we can also solve Y for me. It's transparent.
It turns a negotiation into a partnership.
Exactly. It moves you from facing each other to standing side by side facing the problem together.
Script number 4, the vulnerability play. This is tough for leaders who think they need to be invincible. Instead of saying, we had a minor setback, or spinning the news,
You just say, I screwed up.
3 words, that's it.
The book cites President Obama regarding the Tom Daschle nomination. He just came out and said, I screwed up.
But doesn't that make you look weak? That's the fear.
Counterintuitively, no. It actually increases your credibility. We all know when a leader is spinning. We have a radar for it. When they admit a mistake, we trust them more. We think, okay, this person is real, they're honest, I can follow them. Vulnerability is not weakness. It is the ultimate proof of strength. Only strong people can admit they were wrong.
Okay, script number 5, the trust builder. Instead of just saying, good job,
You say, I can count on you.
I can count on you. What does that do?
Maxwell calls this the law of countability. When you tell someone you can count on them, you're affirming their reliability. You're giving them a reputation to live up to.
I see.
Good job is about the past. I can count on you is about the future relationship. It weighs more. It builds a bond.
And finally, script number 6, the conflict diffuser. This is for when things are getting heated. Instead of saying you're wrong,
You say, tell me your story.
tell me your story.
It moves the conversation from facts and judgment or fight to narrative. Tell me how you got to this conclusion. Tell me what you experienced.
You can't argue with someone's story.
You can only listen to it. And once you listen, the temperature drops. You engage the curiosity part of the brain instead of the defense part.
Those are 6 incredibly powerful tools. Do I see what you see, what you dream about? Help them get what they want. I screwed up. I can count on you, and tell me your story.
If you just used those 6 phrases this week, you would see a dramatic shift in your influence. You would actually feel the room change.
I want to see this in action. The book has a fantastic case study that really brings this all together. It's the story of the American auto workers visiting a Japanese plant.
Yes.
This was back when the U.S. auto industry was really struggling against Japanese efficiency.
This is a classic example of data dump versus storytelling.
Set the scene for us.
So, a group of American auto workers goes to Japan. This is back when the efficiency gap was just massive. They tour the plant. And they are absolutely stunned.
What do they see?
They see the Japanese workers producing 40% more per employee.
40% more. That is a massive productivity gap. That's business-ending numbers.
It's huge. They're working faster, more consistently. It's a different world. So the task force comes back to the States. They call a meeting with their union peers. And they do what most of us would do.
The data dump.
Exactly. They presented the facts. They said, look, we saw the numbers. They work harder. We need to speed up. We are 40% behind.
And how did that land?
They were booed off the stage.
Of course they were.
Total, complete disconnect. The audience didn't hear, we have an efficiency problem. They heard blame. They heard, you are lazy. They heard, management wants to squeeze us.
The facts were true, but the connection was zero.
The wall of ego and suspicion was up, so they failed. But they didn't give up.
They tried again.
They did. But this time they pivoted.
Yeah.
They realized that telling wasn't working. So they selected a guy from the group who was a gifted storyteller.
A connector.
A connector. And they put him in front of the next assembly. He didn't start with charts. He didn't start with workers unite or we're dead.
What did he do?
He narrated the experience. He took 10 minutes just to paint the picture. He described what it felt like to walk onto the factory floor in Japan.
The visual detail.
The visual details, the cleanliness, the speed, the rhythm of the work, the intensity in the eyes of the workers. He described the silence of their focus. He didn't judge it. He just brought the audience with him to Japan.
He used the do I see what you see principle, but for a whole room.
Exactly. He brought them into the story. He made them feel what he felt. And because he connected emotionally and visually, he used the framework, the audience reached the conclusion on their own.
That is the magic trick.
It is. By the end of his story, the workers weren't booing. They were sitting there thinking, wow, if that's what's happening over there, we're in trouble. We need to change.
They felt the confidence to change themselves rather than being told to change.
That is the definition of influence. And it didn't happen with data. It happened with connection. The data was the same in both meetings. The delivery was the difference.
That is a masterclass in itself. So we've covered the problem, the noise, the ego, the complexity. We've covered the solution, visual, emotional, intellectual simplicity. We've given the scripts. As we wrap up this deep dive, let's get really tactical. How do we take this into our week?
The source material gives us an executive close. We need to move from communication, which is just an information dump, to connection, which is real influence.
Okay, action number 1, the 10-foot rule.
This comes from Sam Walton and Walmart. The rule was simple. If you are within 10 feet of someone, customer, or employee, you acknowledge them, you look them in the eye, you greet them.
It sounds so basic.
It is basic, but be honest. How often do we walk down the hallway looking at our phones? How often do we walk into a Zoom call and just keep the camera off until the meeting officially starts?
Guilty.
Connection requires initiative. You have to initiate the energy. You have to be the one to say hello first.
Okay. Action number 2, the ACT audit.
This is for when you are communicating. Before you send the email or start the presentation, audit your message. Don't just talk. Give the listener a plan. ACT stands for apply, change, teach.
Break that down for us.
Ask yourself, what do I want them to apply immediately? What do I want them to change in their behavior? And what do I want them to be able to teach to someone else?
That teach one is really interesting. It implies that the message has to be simple enough that they can pass it on.
Exactly. If they can't repeat it to their team, you didn't connect, it dies with them. Viral ideas are simple ideas. If you can't teach it, you haven't simplified it enough.
And action number 3, the candidate strategy.
This contrasts two styles of politicians. Think about Jimmy Carter versus Ronald Reagan. or George H.W. Bush versus Bill Clinton.
The technician versus the connector.
Right. Carter and Bush were often focused on being the expert. Look at what I did. Look at these complex policies. They were focused on themselves and their resume.
And Reagan?
Reagan focused on the audience. His famous question, are you better off? Not look what I did. He made the voter the subject of the sentence.
So the strategy is stop focusing on being the expert and start focusing on your audience. Ask, how does this affect you?
It's the ultimate me first antidote. Flip the script. Make the person across the table the protagonist of the story.
And finally, a metric to watch. Because what gets measured gets managed. The connection checklist.
It's one simple question. After your next interaction, a meeting, an email, a phone call, ask yourself, did I add value?
Did I add value?
If the answer is no, you communicated, but you didn't connect. Connection is always a value add. It leaves the other person with more energy, more clarity, or more hope than they had before.
That's a high bar.
It is. But that's why few connect. Everyone communicates. Few connect.
It reminds me of the final reflective thought from the book. Communication is a journey. You cannot take others on that journey unless you start where they are, walk to their world, take them by the hand, and then guide them.
Walk to their world. That's the key. Stop waiting for them to come to you. You have to go to them.
That's it for this deep dive. Go out there, get past the ego, keep it simple, and start connecting. We'll see you next time.